Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, while not fully capturing the original's magic, delivers an entertaining mix of Tim Burton style and Michael Keaton's spot-on Beetlejuice performance, making it a fun watch for fans despite some pacing and plot issues.
Overall, an enjoyable film. What more do you really need?
So, I want to clarify things right away, okay? So, we've seen a lot of people have a wide variety of ratings for this. Some people liked it. Some people hated it. We don't really see it in the middle.
Yeah.
And I said this in the review, and I'll say it here again. If you go into this movie and you are expecting a sequel to the first Beetlejuice that captures the heart of the original, it doesn't really do that.
Yeah. It feels more like just a standalone Beetlejuice movie rather than a direct sequel to Beetlejuice, probably because it takes place 20, 30 years later. I mean, they didn't really have much of a choice because they waited 20, 30 years.
Well, actually, I was doing some research and I found out that there were actually 2 more Beetlejuice movies pitched before this one that never ended up getting made. But the thing that I like about this, so it didn't really capture the heart of the original. However, it is a really good
Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, it's a really good Tim Burton movie that happens to have Beetlejuice in it. That's pretty much what it is. Now, Michael Keaton nails the role of Beetlejuice. He you literally could have, it's like almost like he was playing it yesterday.
Mm-hmm. And he was probably in it more to make up for the lack of screen time in the first movie.
I don't know. He did a good job. The story's a bit convoluted. To give an overview of the story, basically, it's 30 years later. Lydia is she like a psychic medium on a show now?
Yeah, she's a TV star with ghosts or something
she starts to see Beetlejuice everywhere and she's worried about it, but then she gets a call from her mom that her father's dead, and the father is not in this film. He's dead, and there's a good reason for it. If you want to look it up for yourself, you can find it. It's not that difficult to find. We're not going to discuss it here because we don't want to talk about it because YouTube does not like that kind of topic. Okay?
Yeah.
But the dad's not there. They do an animated thing to show basically that he gets eaten by a shark, and they have him in the afterlife where he's kind of wandering around as like half a body that's missing his head and spurting blood all over the place.
And it's hilarious, really.
They go back to the house and they have a funeral for him there. And then, of course, they go up to the attic, and Astrid is Lydia's daughter, who's played by Jenna Ortega, who doesn't believe in ghosts. She's angry at her mom because her mom never saw the ghost of her dad, even though her mom's supposed to see ghosts, and she doesn't believe that her mom sees ghosts. And she goes up to the attic and finds a flyer that says, like, looking for a love connection, and it's obviously Beetlejuice. And her mom comes up and finds it and realizes that Beetlejuice is still around.
And she freaks out and basically yells at Astrid, "Don't ever say that name. This room is now forbidden."
Long story short, there's basically like Lydia's supposed to get married, but she doesn't. The guy's a creep. Astrid ends up bumping into this guy who turns out to actually be a ghost, and he takes her into the afterlife to trade her soul for his, and he's technically like a murderer. And then Lydia needs to get Beetlejuice's help.
She has to agree to marry him in exchange for his help.
Yeah, and then there's also the whole thing with Beetlejuice's ex-wife, where they give him a backstory, and she's a soul sucker, but she's gotten out of the stuff, and it was really weird.
It's a lot. There are a lot of side stories and subplots that really do make it feel very packed, but I thought that it added to the humor of it all.
It did, however, the problem is, so people who haven't seen the movie as recently might not realize that, again, the meandering kind of plot was something that was a product of the first movie as well. However, if you wanted to remove anything mentioning Beetlejuice's wife, Dolores, and anything involving William Dafoe's character, even though he was kind of interesting, if you wanted to remove those both from the movie, it would not change anything. It would literally, that wasn't necessary. Really, no. But basically, there's this whole thing's going on, a bunch of stories, and in the end, basically, Beetlejuice is going to marry. They save Astrid. Beetlejuice is going to marry Lydia, but it turns out that there's a violation of the contract because he broke into the afterlife and he gets escaped. But Dolores comes, and in order to defeat her, they somehow find in the guidebook to the recently deceased that you can summon a sandworm to the floor for some random reason, which they don't explain.
I know. They never explain it. It just happens. So convenient plot point is convenient. There are a lot of convenient things that happen.
Basically, the movie is a giant convoluted mess, and I say that in a loving way.
Because so was the first one!
No, well, the first one was a little bit...
Well, we've all saw the first one, and we thought it was an incoherent mess!
Yes, but at least it had a linear plot in a sense where it was only kind of one story, not like 15. So it did that a little better. However, if you are going to go see this movie, what you need to do is the following. You need to go into the movie thinking that it's going to be a kind of convoluted, this happens, so that happens movie. That's a Tim Burton movie that has Beetlejuice in it. Because the one thing I can give credit for is Michael Keaton did an amazing job. If you want to go to the movie just to see Beetlejuice again, you will see him again. Like he does the character quite well. The story around him, not that good. But there's some really great moments. And that's why if I was going to rate this out of... and I forgot to mention, the mom also dies at a certain point, and she has to go with... Again, there's like 15 different side plots, and it's a 6 out of 10 movie for me. I didn't like Deadpool as much as this. I think this was a little bit better. I think it was just very convoluted and top heavy, but there was some really great moments. It's a really fun, quirky Tim Burton movie. That's what it is. It's not a Beetlejuice movie. It's just a Tim Burton movie that is very quirky, very top heavy, that includes Beetlejuice. So it would be a 6 out of 10 for me. And that's kind of my opinion on it. I don't think it's a terrible movie, and I don't think it's like bad, but I would say it's a little more than decent because of Michael Keaton. But if Michael Keaton wasn't in it, it would be really bad. So,
nah. Well, for everything that it is, I still give it around a 7. Mostly just because I had a lot of fun. It was indeed quirky. It had humor. It had some heart. I could feel some stakes in there, even if some of them, ended up being nothing burgers. But all in all, I thought it was pretty well done for a quote-unquote sequel. There were some somewhere there was a couple of politics lines thrown in, which were quite cringy because they didn't need to be there. But then they made you laugh again and you forgot about it. Yes, because they literally, in the afterlife, I'm going to give this spoiler. In the afterlife, they have a sort of police department. And one of the undead cops is bringing in a guy holding a sign who's covered in oil. And he says, "Got another protester." That was so funny.
Yeah, so they take fun at both sides. However, they kind of lean a little bit more into kind of politics and stuff. It's not heavy-handed. It's just a little annoying. I will say, I would have given the movie a 7 out of 10. Or sorry, a 6.5 out of 10 if one thing happened. So we actually went to a screening. And in the screening, we had a guy dressed up like Beetlejuice who did him amazing. And everybody waited till the end because they wanted to wait
for an end credit scene. I was literally saying out loud, end credit scene, and then nothing happened. There was no end credit scene, and so
the guy who's Beetlejuice turns to everybody and says, "What? Think it's a Marvel movie? Jesus!" Beetlejuice. And I'm like, that should have been the end credit scene. That would have been hilarious if it was just Michael Keaton being like, "What are you still doing here? What, you think it's a Marvel movie? Jesus." I would have loved that.
Totally wasted opportunity. Missed opportunity.
Are you tired of Hollywood always letting you down?
Do you feel your sanity slipping as your favorite franchises fall apart?
Looking for a bit of therapy to help you through the madness?
Well, we might not offer actual therapy,
but we can offer a weekly dose of laughter and insight into the world of pop culture.
Join us for Psychosynopsis, where we tackle the latest and craziest in entertainment, with a blend of dark humor and a touch of analysis.
Tune in every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific and let's laugh through the madness together.
We'll see you there.
Like the feel style, share with your crew. Escape life's hell, from spooky memes to advice obscure. Here's your dark solace with humor as a cure.